Hello, this is Laura and welcome to the Learning Reading Hub. Today's video is a review of a very popular literacy curriculum that has been around for a good while now. In fact, this curriculum was first written in 1976. The curriculum I'm talking about is Explode the Code. This Learn to Read program is a classic, but still well regarded, still seems to be widely used and very relevant these days. Why? What can you expect? What sort of approach to teaching reading does it use? Is it good? Is it the right choice for your specific needs? Okay, let's find out in this video. The name of this program, Explode the Code, sort of already gives you a big clue on what to expect, right? It's all about exploding the code, cracking the phonics code. No surprises here then, Explode the Code is a phonics-based program. Not only that, it's also an Orton Guilligham based curriculum. Not sure if you've heard of this approach to teaching reading before. It was developed back in the early 20th century to help struggling readers and students with dyslexia. The Orton Guilligham approach is explicit, structured, and extremely gradual in the introduction of new concepts. Explicit, by the way, meaning that you are going to explicitly teach the connections between letters and sounds, as opposed to implicit, where you expect the students make their own inferences and learn these connections without learning explicit rules, just by exposure to language. Explicit instruction has been proven to be helpful for all children, really, as it reduces cognitive load, but particularly good for dyslexic children and children with other learning differences. These students need clear instructions. Sometimes they simply may not make the inferences necessary to fill the gaps when given vague instructions. Orton Guilligham curriculums also use a multisensory approach to teaching reading for a more holistic learning experience. This is probably what the Orton Guilligham approach is really well known for. This was in fact quite groundbreaking at the time, the integration of kinesthetic and tactile strategies to teaching reading. The idea is to engage all the senses for a more holistic learning experience. Instruction in multiple formats, text, visual, gesture, audio, activates different cognitive skills and facilitates retention in short and long-term memory. Having said that, while Explode the Code positions itself as an Orton Guilligham curriculum, I don't see as many kinetic and multisensory experiences, activities, elements as I'm used to seeing in other Orton Guilligham programs. Still, it engages the senses in other ways and has a very strong focus on writing. We'll see that later on. This is a multisensory activity in itself, but as I said, I don't see the games, the cards, the tiles, all of these other elements that I'm so used to seeing in other Orton Guilligham curriculums. On the other hand, as you'd expect from an Orton Guilligham curriculum, and as I've mentioned before, it is a phonics-based program and it goes all the way down to the phoneme level, which is the smallest unit of sound in words. Besides, it's very structured, very gradual in the introduction of new concepts. It goes slowly and gives students lots of opportunities for review along the way. My favorite part of this curriculum are definitely the workbooks. We will go through them later on in more detail so you understand exactly why. But first, let me say that if you're after a full homeschooling curriculum, I don't think the workbooks will be enough. I think you'll probably also need to get the teacher's guides, especially if you don't know so much about phonics, about the rules, about how to go about structuring a lesson, etc. On top of this, you're probably also gonna need to buy a set of decodable books so your child can practice reading real books that actually match his or her phonics skills. Including these as part of your routine once your child knows a few letter sounds is highly recommended. Unfortunately, Explode the Code doesn't have phonics readers. It's not that you have to go and buy them separately. This curriculum simply doesn't have decodable readers. So in my opinion, as I said, you'll probably have to go and buy a good quality set of decodable readers. This is not such a big deal these days. The only downside is that you'll have to try to match up the scope and sequence of this curriculum with the scope and sequence of the readers you buy. This is doable, but of course it will require some effort from your side, and it's pretty unlikely that they are going to be 100% match. Anyway, if you're interested in following this route, on the video description I'll make sure to leave you a link to an article on our blog that includes a very comprehensive list of good quality decodable books. What they do have though are reading comprehension and reasoning skills books. They are called Beyond the Code. So I hear you asking, cannot I just use them as decodable readers? Well, not really. These books are more advanced than what you need at the beginning when it comes to phonics. Beyond the Code Book 1, for instance, is going to include advanced concepts such as diphthongs or R-controlled vowels. So to be honest, you cannot really start to use them until you're probably done maybe with Explode the Code Book 3. Okay, let's go with the workbooks. Now, what do I like so much about them? Well, apart from being really affordable, each workbook costs around $15 or $16 on Amazon at the time of recording. Since I'm not sure when you're going to be watching this video, probably in the future, I'll make sure to leave you the links to Explode the Code on the video description so you can check any changes on the price. Anyway, apart from their affordability, what I like is that the exercises on the workbooks are extremely well thought out and in some instances tick a lot of boxes at the same time. This means that they will allow children work on sound awareness, phoneme manipulation, learning to spell, read, write, all at the same time, which is fantastic. Besides, some activities are really good fun. Okay, I'll show you some examples now so you have a better understanding of what I mean. Okay, so this is Explode the Code, Book 1, 2nd edition. And first of all, you've got a consonant pretest. So bear that in mind before getting started with the first book. Your child should know the consonant sounds and letters. This is something that is actually taught in their preschool books called Get Ready for the Code, but we will talk about that later on. Now let me go ahead and show you the examples of the worksheets included in these workbooks, and hopefully you'll understand, you'll see why I think they are so good. So for instance, in page number 4 over here, that is very early on in our Learn to Read journey, it says read, copy, and circle it. Simple, right? Well, you're actually reading, matching it to a picture, which is a fun thing to do and a very appropriate activity for children at this point, and writing. Next, page number 5. This exercise is also great, in my opinion. We are learning to spell by listening to the sounds in words. This activity helps children learn very naturally from the very beginning that the spelling in words is not random. Well, there are obviously exceptions, we all know that, but it's not the time to introduce them just yet. At the same time, they are forced to listen to the individual sounds in words, so working on their phonemic awareness skills. Then they have to write down the word, so working on the writing. Also, I like how the activity is presented in a way that is not so overwhelming for children. It gives them options to pick from. For each sound, children have 2 letters to pick from, as you can see. And of course, we are working with simple 3-letter words, CVC words. Next page, number 6 over here, match and write it. A little bit more challenging, but the idea is the same. Sound it out, naturally realize how just by changing the first sound in a word, you get many different words. Hat, mat, bat, pat, rat, sad, cat. This again is working towards your child's sound awareness and phoneme manipulation skills. Then, since your child will have to write down the words, he or she will be practicing his or her writing skills. Next page, number 7, circle it. Circle the right word. Again, we are practicing our reading skills, but in a very controlled way, in a not so overwhelming way, because again, we have options to pick from, very appropriate for children at this point. So I guess you're getting the idea, but let me show you now one of my favorite exercises. Let's go to page 40. Okay, this is page 40 in book 1, cross it. You have to pick the right sentence to match to the picture. Good exercise, of course, but what I really like is that the sentences and the pictures tend to be very funny, and that's always great, right? Having a little laugh while you learn. Besides, the exercises always go the same way anyway, so the targeted sounds and words change obviously, but the gist of the exercises doesn't. That is a plus in my opinion as well, by the way. Children, after a couple of days working on the workbooks, will know exactly what to expect, and you won't have to spend time explaining what they need to do. In fact, the workbooks are what I'm planning to use from this curriculum with my kids as a reinforcement. They are the real gem in this curriculum and why I think it's so highly regarded by many parents and teachers. So in other words, this is not going to be our literacy curriculum because among other reasons, we don't need that at the moment. We figure things out differently in our family using a mix of different bits and pieces from different places. Besides, there's another reading program that is a favorite of mine and we adjust it as needed. It even has some worksheets that I love for the development of phonemic awareness. But anyway, long story short, we have our own little system going on. And besides, as you may already know, I'm currently not homeschooling my kids. So what I need right now is probably different from what a homeschooling family needs. In my case, I need to reinforce, clarify, and as much as possible go beyond what my kids learned at school so they can really thrive, excel, achieve their full potential at reading and writing. Anyway, coming back to explode the code, let's go through some other essential information that I think you need to be aware of. If you're just starting out, there are 3 reading books called Get Ready for the Code, ABC. In these 3 books, kids learn consonant sounds and lowercase letter correspondences. The second thing that I think is important for you to be aware of is that the Explode the Code series consists of 8 books. Your child will start with vowel sounds and patterns. Remember, he or she already learned the consonant sounds in Get Ready for the Code. At the beginning of book 1, you've got a pre-test to see if your child is ready to start. At the end of each book, you have a post-test, so you can see whether your child needs extra practice for the concepts covered in that workbook or not. If he or she needs extra practice, you can get the 1.5 books. Yes, there's 1.5 books, so 2.5, 3.5, and so on and so forth, that you probably only need to buy if you detect your student, your child needs further practice with what was covered in that particular book. The third thing is that if you're going to use this as your main literacy curriculum, or if you're going to use this program in the classroom, then I think you will need probably the teacher's guide. As I said before, one teacher's guide covers 2 workbooks. So teacher's guide number 1 will cover workbooks 1 and 2. Teacher's guide number 2 will cover workbooks 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. The fourth thing is that this curriculum will take your student to approximately 4th grade level. Cons and final thoughts. While I like this curriculum and I see how it's become a classic and has passed the time test, I wouldn't pick it as my main curriculum. There are other available alternatives today that, in my opinion, do a better job at certain things that are really important when it comes to learning to read and that so many children struggle with. For instance, how to blend sounds. I don't really see so much information about this key topic on the teacher's guide. I think that it sort of assumes that you as a parent, teacher will know how to go about it. It doesn't really give you a great deal of ideas either on what to do if your child struggles with some specific phonics concepts. It also falls short on reading practice at the beginning. As mentioned before, there are no readers in this program. However, as I said before, the workbooks are great. the activities are really good. You can certainly use them to supplement your main curriculum or for extra practice if your child goes to school. You can say, okay, I want to reinforce this, focus on this, and just buy the book that actually covers that topic. And by the way, if that's the route that you want to follow, check the video description. I'll leave you a link to an article on our blog about Explode the Code, where we list exactly what's covered in each book. Finally, I also wanted to mention there's an online version of this program that I haven't personally tried. What I thought was interesting about it is that it's got what they call adaptive technology, so the content is automatically adjusted to the student's performance. So that's all for today. I hope you found value on this video. If after watching it you're still unsure and want to look into some other alternative literacy curriculums, this is the video to watch next.